may not yet be Mother's Day, but the scriptures are filled with expressions of love, as they were last week as well. But as I was reflecting on them this week, I found myself struck by one particular line in the Gospel that I found very challenging, perhaps even a bit disturbing. It's a line we're all familiar with, where Jesus says, "Love one another as I have loved you." And what I particularly found challenging was the one little word in the middle of that phrase, as. In fact, so much so that I even pulled out my old Greek original Old Testament, the New Testament, to be able to see exactly what that word was in the original, chachos, which means as or just as, or in similar fashion to. So Jesus is saying to us, we are to love one another with the same depth, the same intensity, the same self-giving reality as he has loved us. Right before he says that line, he gives us a very strong impression of what he means by that when he talks about the love that he and God the Father have, and that the love he gives to us is the love that the Father gives to him. And we know the intensity of that love because we believe in just one God. The love between Father, Son, and Spirit is so intense that while they retain their separate personalities, they are simply one God, one reality. That is an incredible depth, unifying reality of love. And then, just in case we're still missing the point, in the line following that line of love one another as I love you, Jesus talks about the depth of love means giving one's life for one's friends, offering one's life for another person. There are other aspects in which we talk about, which Jesus talks about, our loving one another, that are challenging, that are important, but are not nearly so strong. So, for example, we even hear in the epistle today that we can love because God has first loved us. It is God's love that motivates and transforms our love. And that's a beautiful reality. But it's not quite saying to the point that we are to love exactly as God loves. And we are told that love is a commandment. That we are told that because we are loved, Jesus has the right to tell us, to command us to love one another. And that's a challenge, and that's an important thing. But it doesn't even begin to reach that depth of we are called to love as God loves. With that kind of depth, with that kind of intimacy, with that kind of creativity, so that we can indeed, as Jesus says, bear fruit. Now, I don't love with that depth of love. I doubt anyone here loves with that. Indeed, only God loves that way. But that is the goal that is presented to us. Indeed, as we heard John write to us last week, when things come to their fruition, we will be like God. Meaning, we will be able to love with that intensity, with that depth. So, what does that mean for us now when we're all far from that reality? I think, first of all, it allows us to ask ourselves, how do I understand love? Is my understanding of love colored more and more by the understanding given to it by our society, where love, like anything else, is all about me? It's what I get out of it. It's what I receive from it. It's the way I can feel good about myself because of it. How much is that impression, that understanding of love, seeping into our consciousness as well? Or can we allow the words of Jesus to us today to help reverse that process, to understand that love is giving as much as it is, if not more, than it is receiving? The second thing I think we can reflect on in light of Jesus' words to us today is one of the ways that we have experienced that depth of love. directly from God, through other people. The way in which you as husbands and wives share that love with one another. Again, perfectly known, but knowing that you are Christ for one another, that you enter into that life-giving reality of the Trinity. The example of love that we've seen in people giving their lives for others. Those at 9/11 who ran up the towers as everyone else was running out. Were they perfect people? No. But they were touched at that moment with the ability to give their lives in love for the sake of others. What are the experiences that you and I have had that help us to understand what true, deep, life-giving, life-affirming love is? And then third, as we gather here at the Lord's table, and we open our hearts more and more to be touched by that self-giving love, Jesus is able to give himself to us in bread and wine, become his body and blood, because he allowed his body and blood to be broken and poured out for us upon the cross, and because he is risen from the dead, now inhabiting all the world. It is his sacrifice that makes his self-gift possible for us. We thank him for the gift of that sacrifice. We thank him for the joy of resurrection, which we share in by our baptism. And we ask that as we share intimacy with him once again this morning, more and more, we truly, little by little, can grow in that direction of loving one another as he loves us.